Hello, and welcome to the Isle Ship. We are your trusty crewmates. I am John D, along with Dino Dangle Mike and Brandon Gaines. Boys, the Islanders' ship has sunk. The season is over. It's been over for a little while now. Um, we got a great series between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers on. So, Mike has a beautiful 1990s Panthers jersey. And I got
Well,
my
I think
80s
should,
Oilers jersey on.
and I think they should go back to
And
both of these designs.
I just have
oh,
a
I
Dragon
agree.
Ball Z
I
shirt.
agree. That's a much better logo. I would love for them to go back to
I
that.
I hate that the Panthers are going to win the cup in those uniforms. They are hideous.
Yeah.
I hate them. They look like a
They,
soccer team.
they really do. Yeah. Like it looks like a
Florida
soccer
Hockey Club.
jersey.
Florida HC.
Yeah, like FC Panther.
Oh, that's funny, John.
Yeah, but
Brandon? Did you see what I put in the chat real quick?
John got the intro right. Yay!
it had to happen eventually.
Let's go. Let's go.
Do you
We
remember
didn't
we had
even
the
have to
pod?
stop this time.
Yeah, do you remember we had the pod where John just did the
Yeah.
old intro and Brandon's like, cut it, shut it off.
Yeah, we had to go like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I remember. I
like
think
our
by the
old
end of
name,
that night,
too.
I was having like computer issues and I wanted to like rip both of your hairs out.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a lot to talk about. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Let's go right into the series with Carolina. Guys,
Okay, wow.
expected outcome, unexpected outcome. Well, what are we thinking here? How are we looking?
Kind of like the movie Groundhog Day, where the same thing happens over and over and over again. You just can't wait. Can't stop waking up.
I can see that.
Hey,
Yeah.
put your little hand in mine. It's the same thing. You play Carolina, you lose. You play Carolina, you lose. You play Carolina, you lose.
They
Three
really
times in
are
the past-
like one of the
3 times
teams
in
that
the
has
past
our
5
number. I don't think we've ever won a series against them.
3 times in the past 5 seasons,
Yeah.
or 6. I guess I'm getting old. The Islanders have lost to the Carolina Hurricanes, and I believe they've only won 3 games
Yeah,
during those
probably. Yeah.
matchups.
No, they
You
got
You
swept the
can look
first
at
year.
it
Two
in
last year,
2
one this year.
ways.
They got swept in 2019.
There's 2 ways you can look at it, whether you want to be an optimistic fan or a pessimistic fan. If you're an optimistic fan, through 5 seasons, we've only been beaten by 2 teams. If you're a pessimistic fan, we still can't get past them.
Let's be fair here. Carolina was the favorite to win that series.
Yeah.
Any Islander fan, listen. I mean, that team was not the same Carolina team the Islanders faced last year in the playoffs. I mean, they didn't have Teravainen after game 2.
They had Jake Gensel.
They didn't have Jake Gensel. They didn't have Dmitry Orlov either. So, you go into Carolina despite your team having a fundamentally hideous penalty kill and a very anemic and a very lethargic power play. So, knowing all that and knowing the fact that Sorokin did have a bit of a big time down year by his standards, you're going into that series completely unfavored to win that matchup. And I picked Carolina to win in 6. They won in 5, whatever. And it is what it is. Carolina got bounced in the second round to the Rangers. Good. We don't have to deal with the social media admin saying cry, cry, cry. Good. Now they can cry after getting bounced out by the Rangers.
Yeah.
And then got bounced out by Mike's Rat Cats. So, all in all, pretty relaxing cup final now. The penalty kill was a consequence of the Islanders keeping Lane Lambert after last year because of obviously Huda is Lane Lambert's disciple essentially, and when you're having a penalty kill again, I'm going to keep beating this drum like over and over and over again. When you have a penalty kill worse than teams who are trying to be bad, that's not a player issue. I don't want to hear it at that point. Like, who the hell do the freaking the Red Wings or the Blue Jackets or the Sharks or the Blackhawks have, or the Sabres have, that's so immensely better in the penalty kill than the Islanders as far as talent goes? I'm sorry, that's scheme. And the way you see the proof is in the pudding in the following round against Carolina with the Rangers. The way the Rangers play penalty kill with objectively worse overall defensive talent, despite Fox being on one leg essentially, and Lindgren looking like crap without prime Adam Boxed holding his hand. You see clear as day how they look 5-on-5, but on the PK they have a scheme and they execute it properly thanks to the good assistant coaching of Phil Housley. And
Well,
the Islanders got
from a
none of that
schematic
this year under
perspective,
Doug Huda.
from a schematic perspective, the difference between the two teams seemed obvious to me. The Rangers were aggressive on the penalty kill, whereas the
Yes,
Islanders were
yes.
not. The Rangers, the entire
They didn't
series,
turn
they
away
were
in the spot
challenging the
area.
shooters. They were trying to disrupt passes. They weren't
Yes.
giving the Hurricanes time and space to try to move things around in their own zone during the penalty kill. And the Islanders were more reluctant to do that because they felt like they didn't want to get burned, I think. So they kept like kind of shelling back and giving the Hurricanes a lot of time and space to kind of set up and work the ice and move the puck around to find the open man. And really, I really hope that they adopt more of a power kill next year and try to
Well,
be more
again,
aggressive and use the speed of guys like Romanov and Dobson to disrupt the shooters more.
that comes down to who replaces Huda. Because I am 99.999% sure that Huda ain't coming back. He ain't Waz guy. He's probably gone. Goodbye. Go back to Detroit. I don't care how they raved about you developing Moritz Seider's game. I don't care. The way the Rangers killed their penalties, and again, they got exposed a little bit from a talent perspective against the Panthers the following round, but it gives them so much confidence to play a somewhat looser style, a somewhat loosey-goosey style. It gives them so much confidence, and the Islanders objectively, at least under Patty Watt, played overall better defensive 5-on-5 hockey compared to the Rangers. But it's the special teams where the Islanders just got burned, and you have to fix that. I'm not saying the Islanders need to have a top 5 penalty kill. Would it be great? Sure, but I look at what Vancouver did during this previous offseason. You had a decent March under Tocchet, and February, and an okay April. And aside from adding Carson Soucy, they didn't really shake anything up. You replaced Jason King under penalty killing coaching schemes with Adam Foote, and they jumped up 8% as far as penalty kill success rate goes. They didn't shake anything up. They essentially, for the most part, rolled the same people out there. And overall, 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill. Sure, they missed Horvat when it came to playoff time, and obviously Besser had his blood clot issues, but they kicked ass all season for the most part. And you need a good philosophy to enforce.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of,
otherwise you're not going to.
I think it's still a mix of both, Brandon. I still think who you put out there matters. Like when I'm watching the Blue Jackets, for instance, I'm not going to expect Cole Sillinger or whoever else they're throwing out there on their PK to do well. I understand these are kids with some talent, but I do feel like whoever you put out there still needs to have a very good active stick, can be physical, knows how to play defense. That stuff still matters. And actually, a really good example, just to quickly talk about, Brandon, if we're talking about teams that changed their PK. Look at the Stanley Cup final. The Oilers' PK was completely transformed with the coach that was already there. And listen, I'm not saying that's what the Islanders should necessarily do, but I don't know. It seems like Knobloch came in, and all of a sudden, these guys knew how to properly play on the PK. And it's the same guys. It's not like they're not using McDavid or Draisaitl anymore back there.
I think this goes more to Brandon's point, though, where it's a scheme issue more than anything.
100%. But at the same time, I would not trust a team who's throwing out a mid 34, 35-year-old with tons of mileage on them to do well on a PK. You need guys who have a shit ton of stamina. Guys who are going to be able to last a minute
I agree.
if they need to. And physicality. As much as I love Cal, and I'm not saying he's not a physical player, the foot speed's gone. He's not going to be able to be physical even if he wanted to be. You need guys who are going to be able to.
I don't really think you need tons of foot speed to be an effective penalty kill. I think you need one or two guys that have a really good motor. But depending on your role, I think you can scheme it up to where guys that are not really as fast, but are more physical, can stay in that kind of crease role and make sure that the goalie can actually see the puck coming through and they're not being screened or tipped.
But see, the thing is, the Dallas Stars, they have a mixture of slugs and decent skaters out there. I mean,
Agreed.
Ben and Sagan, they're slow. Matt Duchene skates like Brock Nelson basically at this point.
Yeah.
But it's not like they roll out Jason Robertson on a penalty kill. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, you're right.
They're rolling out occasionally players like Colin Miller. They'll roll out Marchman if they want to. They'll mix it up, but they're not going to stay turtled in, hoping that your goaltender
that's my point.
doesn't see a deflected shot. I mean, that's ludicrous. That's not how you coach a penalty kill. You're supposed to be pressuring from the outside. Let your goaltender take care of the extra man if need be, for the most part.
But that's something that I think is very helpful for the Islanders. The fact that they have two elite level goaltenders that they can look at and say, okay, we trust you to save the open looks. We're going to make sure that they don't have a passing lane to try to like beat you in ways that you wouldn't be able to get to. But we trust that you can save open shots.
It's also just Romanov take the next step. He was horrendous on the penalty kill for us last year, but I think if he can up his physicality, like we've seen him at least be able to do before, and then you add Mayfield back into that mix, all of a sudden the Islanders have a good PK again.
Oh, I think Romanov, if you adopt the power kill, I think Romanov can be your best defender.
Yeah,
he's born
working
for that role. It's just not something they were doing, and so he suffered because of it.
Like they played way too passive. Like
they did.
Can't be. With a team with Mayfield, Romanov, Barzal, Horvat can PK as well. You have Cizikas on the PK, Engvall. Oh, Engvall's not really physical, but
there should not be a situation where Cizikas and Engvall are on the penalty kill. I'm sorry.
But how do you not use Engvall? The dude's tall, he's got a long stick, and he's fast.
He doesn't defend. He is good in transition. He has absolutely zero pressure game. There is not a part of his game that says pressure. What?
He doesn't need to be like you had like the Rangers have elite 5-on-5 defensive forwards out there.
No. I'm not saying he needs to be Patrice Bergeron level, but if you're playing on the penalty kill and you're that big, I need you to be able to throw your body around and give people problems, and he's not willing to do that.
I'd rather him have great positioning first. I'd rather him have that.
It's interesting to see what happens with him this year because he had a down year. So, but a lot of Islanders did.
Yeah, down year. I just think he had a typical Engvall year. Scores at a 30-goal pace.
It wasn't what he was.
I agree with both of you, but Mike, I think Brandon's point is that Engvall, the first season with the Islanders, played above his pay grade. And now we're seeing what he is usually like. This is the guy that when we traded him, Leaf fans went, okay, expect this to happen when he was doing so well. And everybody was like, oh, there's no shot. This is kind of regression to the mean. And you hope that the further the contract goes, he can kind of improve upon this. But this is what he was.
See, I still don't have an issue with the Engvall deal.
We'll see what they do on the PK. I mean,
I don't have an issue with the deal either, but I don't think he's going to be the steal everybody thinks he is.
Well, for a third, I believe it was a third-round pick. I mean, again.
No, I mean the contract.
What's the expectation for a $3 million forward?
I think he's going to meet expectations. I just don't think he'll exceed them.
My expectations are you to average between 30 and 35 points annually at bare minimum for a $3 million forward.
I'd say about 30 points, 15 goals. That's fair.
He has like, listen, would it be great for him to get 50 points annually? Yeah, sure.
No, fantastic. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, you got to fix the PK first. You have to. Like,
I agree.
You can't have a worse penalty kill than teams who are tanking.
We could honestly talk about this for like another 20 minutes, but I think we'll. Just, I know.
I
need to see what they're going to do first and who they're going to choose for the PK because let's face it. I mean, I don't know if you guys want. We could probably go into this another time, but I don't think Cal Clutterbuck or Matt Martin will be back next year. So those are two PKers that are gone.
I think they're retiring, to be completely honest.
They should.
I would discuss that on the next episode, actually.
Okay,
Fair.
yeah.
Okay, so
that's a preview of my thoughts.
To table this, outside of special teams, who do you think had a good series? Who do you think didn't?
Oh, I like this question. This is a good one. Brandon, you want to start?
Kyle McLean.
Had a good
I think McLean had a very good series. Yeah, I like this game a lot.
Varlamov.
He was up and down.
He was solid.
I wouldn't say up and down.
Shaky game 2, shaky game 5.
He had a 955 save percentage at 5v5. We know what the problem is.
But he also gave a horrendous back end of a quick goal sequence in games 2 and 5.
But let's face it, if your goalie's giving you that, I mean, you're not going to get much better. The real problem was he was the worst penalty kill goalie in the playoffs. I know he only played 5 games, but 6. No, 5. 5. Yeah, we lost 5.
You had it right. The first time. Trust your instincts.
He had a 600 save percentage on the PK, which is abominable. But I think it goes to show you what the biggest problem with the Islanders is, because if you're a team that doesn't score a lot to begin with, and then you can't defend, I mean, what are you?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can be as good of a 5-on-5 team as you want. If your special teams are atrocious, that will kill you.
100%. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is I don't even think you need an elite special teams to win the cup, but they got to be good. They got to be good.
You need them to be league average.
Yeah, yep. At least.
Just be league average. That's all I want.
Agreed. Okay, so Mike, who do you think had a good playoff? Who did not stand out in your eyes?
Yeah, so me and Brandon agreed so far. Well, he was not as good on Varlamov, but we gave McLean and Varlamov. To me, those were probably the top 2 of the playoffs. For 3, I would have to go Barzal because he won them a game himself. So it would be McLean, Varlamov, Barzal. And then if I was the 3 worst players... I
would personally like to add Anders Lee to this list. I think he had a very good playoff.
To me, the problem is... Listen, they controlled play when they were on the ice, but at the end of the day, they didn't really produce.
Anders Lee had several goals. I don't know what you're talking about.
He only had one. He only had one. He had a few assists, a few secondaries.
Okay, fair.
But no, you'd be surprised who had 2 goals besides Barzal in that series. And I would say the worst player, in my opinion, in the playoffs is Brock Nelson, without a doubt. I mean, he had 2 goals, but he got dominated on the ice against the Hurricanes. His whole line did, but I don't know.
Yeah, he had issues.
And then I guess you could say Sorokin, but he only played half a game. So
a lot of that stems from who the left winger was on that line.
Fashing I don't think Fashing belongs there.
You can't win games like that.
I would say, and listen, a lot of people might get mad when they hear this, but I'd say the worst Islanders in the playoffs were Nelson in the 4th line. I think Cizikas had his moments. He was better than Cal and Martin, in my opinion. But honestly, the Islanders aren't a team paying 2 guys $15 million each.
Well, I don't really think people are going to be surprised by that. Your 4th line is your 4th line. Of course, they're going to be the worst players on the ice. They're kind of supposed to be.
Yeah, but with the way the Islanders are built, I think they more than a lot of other teams should have 4 lines of production. Because like I said, they don't have 13 million invested in one guy and then 10 million and 11. You know, they're not built like that. They're built more for depth. And I just think their depth at this point is terrible. I mean, worse than the average depth on any team. And I don't think I'm wrong. When you have Hudson Fasching playing 2nd line left wing, what's your depth?
Well, I think
that's a problem.
I think they have depth in the form of they had 10 players this season that had over 10 goals. That's solid depth. I don't think they have high-end depth in that they don't have a lot of players that are going to fit your high-end roles. And that's why you see guys like Hudson Fasching getting a shot on the 2nd line. But I think if you're looking at this team, they are a team that is filled with a ton of middle-of-the-road hockey players that sometimes play above their weight and sometimes don't. They don't have a lot of high-end talent. They don't have a ton of low-end talent, but they have a lot of middle-of-the-road hockey players.
Which you need to transition away from, though.
Listen, John, this is the biggest compliment I could give Pajot and Lee is that you would hope the fourth line would be able to play like them. I know they don't make the same amount of money as those guys do. I get it, but they're also paid more than an average fourth liner, in my opinion. Guys like Martin and Clutterbuck and Cizikas. Back in the day,
yeah, you're right, but those are objectively bad deals that were given out when the fourth line was actually one of the better fourth lines in hockey.
Yeah,
because they were a checking fourth line that controlled the pace of a series and won them series because of it.
Like I said, at the end of the day, you're right. I think it's a high-end talent issue, but I also think the Islanders do have a depth issue. I think that's a problem when the guys who should be in your top six, I think there was a time and a place where Pajot could be a top six player. I think there was he was on another team.
Yeah, he actually can if you use him properly.
I don't think so.
But more importantly to the conversation, Anders Lee is a top six player that wasn't that the whole year was struggling. So, I mean, the Islanders have this middling talent issue of guys that should be in your top six to put, I guess, less pressure on the guys who could do well in the bottom six. Instead, 3 of the players in your bottom six were in and out of your top six the prior year. So, I mean,
that's more of a high-end talent issue than a depth issue.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think Pajot absolutely could fill a second line role if you move him up with competent wingers. You know,
he's not a goal scorer. He doesn't have an offensive game. He's incredible. He has a very solid two-way game, but he's never put up offensive production that would make him a second line player.
That's exactly what he did with Brady Tkachuk and Connor Brown, though. 40 points.
No.
Yeah, well,
yes, he did. Yes, okay. And so you're differentiating between him playing with those players.
Wait, how many points did you say he put up in 60 games?
40.
That's not second line production.
Yes, it is.
60 points in 80 games is not second line production. No.
I mean, that's what that's what a lot of teams have. I wouldn't say my thing is listen, if you had Pajot on your second line, we better be getting a haul for Brock Nelson or whoever.
That's what I'm saying. Yes,
I'm not saying that either.
If you're going to say JG Pajot is a third line winger, I think he's great as a third line winger. I don't think he has the offensive output to play on your second line.
Do me a favor, Mike. Go on Natural Stat Trick right now.
Sure.
Go to Line Tool, select Pajot, Lee, and Palmieri as your forwards, and show me the goal pace.
What is that? What?
I'll look for a sec. You guys keep talking about
that. Doesn't tell you anything, though.
Yes, it does. It tells you how efficient Pajot was in a second line role with good wingers.
I would say they were the third line, but I mean, you could argue that we had two second, third line-ish things going on. 2.5s. We had two 2.5s going on in the playoffs, in my opinion. Who was the other winger? Pajot, Lee, and who? Engvall?
Palmieri.
Oh, Palmieri.
Yes, I'm not. When they rolled with that for 12 games, what was the pace of goals that they were scoring at the time?
Yeah, so I need rates. Where's rates?
Yep. Go to rates.
Give me a sec.
And then you go to how they were 5.
I don't think you can really get a lot from that small of a sample size, though, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was only...
it's not really going to give you anything.
That's what they did with Engvall, Nelson, and Palmieri last year.
In 95 minutes, they had 4.41 goals for per 60, which is very high.
Yeah. See what happens when you actually put Pajot with confident wingers?
My issue with that is JG and Anders without Palmieri had a 1.33 goals for 60 in 270 minutes away from him, which is horrendous together. So it seems like Palmieri is really the one carrying some of the hard work there.
Because Palmieri is an actual second line winger.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And when Pajot is now on the third line, though, in this case, playing with Engvall, playing with Lee, what happens? For the most part, they've
John,
been told to play the entire time they were together.
The only way this would ever listen, I don't think the more I think about it, the more I realize, and I know this is more of an off-season discussion, they can't get rid of Brock Nelson. It's just, and from what I understand,
he puts up too much offense.
Well, Lou and him have a great relationship, so I do think he would stay on a discount from what I've heard.
He has a great relationship with everybody.
Well, just saying that Lou loves him and the organization loves him. I'm not sure he's going anywhere. But if Pajot was your 2C and you got a haul for him and you got 2 really good players back, maybe you could make it work. At the end of the day, though, it's not a problem we're going to have, so I don't want to put too much thought into it. Pajot is going to be your 3C unless they can move him, which I don't think they will. But I think Anders is, and people have told me that's not the case. But I think, like Bailey, people might be surprised. I don't think Lou cares about this camaraderie nonsense. If you're not helping us win now, he's going to do everything to get rid of you. And I know Anders
I think they could trade him easily. He scored 30 goals.
Anders had a great end of the season. Anders had a great playoffs. If I'm a team like Chicago that needs players around Bedard, he's kind of interesting. Just like when they took Bailey, but this guy can actually still play. I don't know what it would cost. I think we'd have to offload another second-round pick and potentially maybe even
we're veering off into off-season talks, Mike.
This is still off-season talk? Well, I gotcha. Whatever.
Veering off again, buddy.
Listen, I will say
we're gonna save all that juicy stuff for the next episode.
Yeah, I know. I'll reach out to a few people before we do that as well. I haven't really done that because I don't really care enough to dive into it until I know who's traded, because then things get interesting, or who's gonna be. But
exactly.
All right, I won't veer off. Where were we? We were heading off to who the bad players in the playoffs were. John, do you have any thoughts about who your worst or second to worst player in the playoffs was? Because, like I said, Nelson was probably mine. He was pretty asleep the whole series.
I think Nelson had a really poor playoff.
Yeah,
I think. Well, you touched on it. The fourth line. I think defensively,
by his standards,
there were a lot of moments where I thought Pelech and Pulak got exposed.
Oh, of course. I didn't mention them, but I mean, it goes without saying at this point that like they're really killing this team. I think Pulak's been a little bit more consistent. But at the end of the day, if someone's willing to take either of them and we can get a puck-moving defenseman to fill, I'm actually at the point, Brandon, where I'm willing to make the worst. I know this is off-season talk. I'm trying to save this for later, but I'd give a lot of money to get rid of like a Pulak and get a Montour or something and get someone who can move the damn puck.
If you could trade Pelech or Pulak for Montour, I think at this point I would do it. I like both of them. I think they're going to get better under Patrick Waugh. But if you can get younger like that and get a solid defenseman, I would do that, yeah.
I don't think Montour is younger. I might be wrong on that. I think he's 30. But the point is that you'd have Mayfield coming back, and now you have 3 guys who can move the puck. Re-sign Riley, Montour, and Dobson. It's a great threesome of guys who can move the puck. All right, I won't do off-season stuff. I'm sorry. I keep getting into it.
You gotta be patient. Be patient.
I know. It's
all
so
right.
hard.
So outside of this, what do you think a general outlook for next year is? How do you feel about the team going into next season under Patrick?
I'll start this one, Brandon. I have no confidence until Lou proves me wrong. I'm not on the Lou train. He's got to show me that he wants to win. He went all in on Horvat. Good job. Good job. No one said bad job, even though Horvat was mid in the playoffs. Good move. He went and got Romanov. I was iffy on that. At the end of the day, looks like a good move. But if you're going to do all that and you're not going to sign some big fish and move one of the dead pieces out, to me, it's a waste. Use your first-round pick. At this point, it really doesn't matter. You are in Barzal and Horvat's prime. It's this is off-season talk once again, but you kind of pushed me that way into the next season. But Lou needs to show me he's still got it. If you said all that at the press conference and then go into next season with a Martin and Clutterbuck replacement and expect me to be okay with that, I won't be.
Okay, Brandon?
So, what is it? Like the end of the season outlook into next season? That's what you want?
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, I expect the Islanders to go the Vancouver Canucks route. I don't expect them to go crazy really during the offseason, because you can't really go crazy in terms of transactions during the offseason. Sorry, unless you figure out what your foundation is, what the structure is overall in your PK, power play, and 5-on-5 play first. You need to prioritize that first. Adding anything else is like putting a small bandage on a gunshot wound. You can't have questions in those three phases of the game, no matter what talent or lack thereof you have. Because look, there's other teams out there who took steps in making decisions when they knew fundamentally something was wrong. The Pittsburgh Penguins, for example, their power play was 30th in the entire league. What did they do in response? They fired Todd Reardon. That's what happened, because they know that they have no business being a bottom 5 ranked, let alone bottom 3 ranked power play in the entire freaking league. Decent 5-on-5 team, decent PK unit, but on the power play, it was ugly. So for the Islanders, you need to fix those areas of your team first, schematically. Then, like maybe a player or two comes in internally, or you snatch an ELC player from another team. Maybe you do that, but you need to fix that first. You can't have a cup winning formula. You can't have a cup contending formula unless you establish that. You have to establish that. Like the Rangers did a great job at it for the most part. They got some, aside from Shesterkin playing like Jacques Plante in the playoffs, great power play, great penalty kill. It's okay 5-on-5 team. They fixed all that with decent coaching.
I don't know if I would say okay 5-on-5.
They were okay. They were okay.
They got hammered by
they weren't
Carolina and
garbage.
Florida.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, for the most part, because Fox was playing on one leg for the most part, but you had a very, very good power play, elite status power play.
Sure.
Great penalty kill.
Agreed.
Decent goaltending.
Great goaltending. Are you kidding?
There's a great chance that either Pekka or Housley can have head coaching opportunities a year from now if they keep this up. But that's what you need if you're the Islanders. You need that first.
Before you get into this one, John, I have to cut you off, Brandon. I say you add the star first, and you worry about that stuff later. You got to grab the player that you need now, because the season's going to start, and you can't be like, oh, we'll grab someone at the deadline. You might not make it to the deadline.
Vancouver didn't do that.
Vancouver had a lot more talent.
Okay, and they had the last ranked penalty kill the year before.
My point, once again, this is more off-season, but if you're able to figure out how to get Ehlers on Long Island, all of a sudden you're moving someone off the PP to the PK.
Ehlers is not going to Chicago.
Whatever. But you get my point. Now you can move someone off the first power play unit, probably put them on the second unit, and use them on the PK. Now, who would that be? I'm not entirely sure on who you'd move off the power play. Maybe Brock Nelson, or maybe
Nelson should not be on your first unit.
But here's the thing: now
it doesn't work.
Turn Brock into a PK monster. I think he's big, he's strong, he's got a good active stick.
Why would you do that?
Why not?
Brock on the second power play unit
because he is not mobile, and he is a forward. He is an offensively minded forward. I do not want him defending the penalty kill.
He was decent killing penalties on the first 2 years of Trotz, but he's not.
It's a long time ago. Yeah, I know. But I'm just my point, John, is you add Ehlers to this team. I think it lets everyone else get a little bit of a breather, because we're going to be the first team in history that uses more than 14 minutes a game. So it would be fascinating to see how the PK evolves now that Brock or someone else isn't on. Maybe Brock's still on PP1. Now someone's not on PP1. They're either on PP2 or they're probably on the PK, and they're still probably a pretty damn good player. I'm just saying.
Why can't you just do the smart thing and put Ryan Pollock there? Why can't you just do the smart thing?
On the forwards of the PK?
No, on the first units. Pollock's got a 100
Brandon, when does he ever hit the net?
When does Noah Dobson ever hit the net?
But Noah Dobson's not a shooter. He's a passer.
Okay, Ryan
Oh, no.
Pollock, when he missed those shots in 2018-19, because I know half the Islander fan base still has PTSD from that year regarding Pollock, those shots came from the blue line, not the point. That's where you put Pollock. You put
But
him on
that's
the point.
Palmieri's
You
spot.
keep Barcelona's right.
No, I'm still using
No.
Dobson, by the way, on the power play. I'm not falling into that trap.
No. I'll use if I'm keeping Mike Riley. I'm putting Dobson on the second unit actually. Because here's the thing.
So wait, why would you
actually
move? Why would you move Pulak to Palmieri's spot? He's lethal there.
Palmieri got moved to the bumper role over the course of the season under McLean.
He played
Keep him and
significantly
Pollock.
better when he was the point shot.
Okay, and Pollock has got a bigger threat of a shot though than Palmieri, which takes the edge
No,
off
he
of
does
Palmieri.
not.
I
Dude.
started. How did I start this through Ehlers? I feel like I had this all settled. And in all seriousness, this is once again more off-season outlook, guys. But if you want to fix the PK, maybe you pay Jordan Martinook a little bit of money. Maybe that's your target and UFA if you're going to add anyone. That would make a lot of sense. I mean,
or just keep Holmstrom and Pajot as your first guys.
No, that's no problem. But I would still add an. You got to
Why would
understand,
you put
Brandon.
Holmstrom and Pajot are not offensive threats. Why would you put them on your first unit power play?
I would be okay if that's the second unit.
Yeah, that's a fine second unit.
Wasn't he third in the league in shorthanded goals?
If you added Martinook,
oh, you're talking about penalty kill. Fine.
Yeah.
No, penalty kill. And Martinook, as I'm saying, could probably be your starting PK guy. Now, I from what I hear of Carolina fans, he's a bit overrated or whatever. I don't care. He's done a fantastic job in his time there. And if he's going to cost $2.5–3 million, and you have to give him 6 years or something, listen, we're trying to win now, man. Add a great PKer to this team. Am I wrong?
I mean, I think if you're looking to win now, the play might be more Marty Natchez.
Natchez
that's
going
to cost you a fortune. I don't think the Islanders have the assets.
I think
going up by $6 million.
I think Ehlers is a lot more reasonable of an ad because it sounds like they're trying to move.
I agree.
No, I'm not saying Carolina's not trying to move Netchus or whatever, but they want a star player in a first. Like we don't have that. We're not going to.
Okay, so here's the trade, Mike. Netchus for Ehlers. There's your trade. Solve both teams' problems.
Oh my God. So wait, we're not even involved in this?
No.
Why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about this? This is like
that's not what's gonna happen.
This is John's nightmare.
The Islanders, that is probably going to be the trade. Netchus for
That
Ehlers.
is absolutely not going to be the trade. That doesn't work for either team.
Winnipeg gets an RFA top 6 forward. The Carolina, but not as skilled as Ehlers, but still feels.
If that happens, my whole offseason is ruined.
Carolina gets an objectively more skilled player right now than Natchez.
The only thing that could be worse is the Rangers somehow find out a way to get either of those guys. I would stop. I would quit it. Rick Nash all over again.
Carolina wants a younger player.
Who?
They want Simon Holmstrom. A Lou masterclass of a draft pick, by the way. I think he's actually pretty decent, but there are things about.
I think he's fine.
There are things about his game that destroy me, though. So I hope he figures it out. Because if he figures it out, he's going to be a great hockey player. He's going to be a 30-goal scorer in this league. I fully believe that. But, man, he's got to figure it out away from the puck. Guy's stupid.
Wow, yeah, you have very high expectations of him. Jeez, I don't think he's going to be a 30-goal scorer.
I think he has the shot in the hands, man. It's like the brain that needs to pick.
I think he can eventually be a 20-goal scorer, and that's really realistically all I need from him.
Was he not this last year? What did he hit, 18 or something?
16, I think.
16? He was close. I mean,
yeah.
he fizzled off after the first few months, right? That's
I don't think he's going to hit 30, but I think he can come close.
He won't hit 30.
I think someone told me he was starting on the first line next year, which made me laugh a little bit. I mean, I loved it in the beginning of the year when he was there. I'll say that. I liked him a lot. He just wasn't shooting enough. That was really what killed me is he'd pass every damn puck, every opportunity he had.
So how would you feel if the Islanders revisited that next year?
I mean, that means I guess we didn't do shit in the offseason. If he's
I was going to say, if you're playing Simon Holmstrom first line minutes, something has gone seriously wrong in your offseason.
before we move on to the next thing, I think it's really important. I think John still had to give his 2 cents on what he is going to think in the offseason. I think we have to talk this episode about this Saplakov guy because I've only seen so much, but the hype around him is a lot higher than I thought it would be. And I'm not talking about from Islanders fans because we're all thinking Galashev, fucking all the Russians that haven't worked out here.
Kovash.
Yeah. Yes. Kovar. It just goes on forever. But more importantly, I looked at so I have this guy Mason Black on Twitter. I don't know if you guys have ever seen his stuff. He does like PNHLE, which is like his version of like what are these kids going to turn into? How are they producing where they are? And I know he's not a kid, but he looks at other leagues and how their production is and what it would look like in the NHL with their potential. And he has this guy as someone who could be a second liner. If the Islanders signed a second liner for nothing, that's going to rule. I mean, he's an RFA, I think, if I understood that correctly. So, I mean, imagine if the Islanders get like a mini Kuzmenko out of this, it would be huge. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on him, but I hope he becomes a top 6 forward because all of a sudden then you have your Engvall replacement.
Right there.
I am not putting any stock into it until I see him do it against actual NHL players.
How old
let's just put it that way.
I think he's 25 or 26. He's not old, He's still in the prime of his career. And I get it.
He's 25.
I get it. Listen, I understand the KHL isn't exactly the best defensive league in the world. It's not. It's probably like the 4th or 5th best defensive league, if we're being honest. But overall, talent-wise, it is absolutely the 2nd best hockey league in the world. So it's not like he's surrounded by nobodies. I mean, I'm pretty sure he plays with an ex-Islander. What's his name? You guys would laugh if I told you.
Shane Prince.
Yes, Shane Prince. I loved when he was an Islander. But more importantly, the guy's got a huge frame. I think he's like 6'5". He skates incredibly well. They tracked his skating as being like a Bobby McMahon, someone who can hit a burst of like 97 or 90 the 97th percentile of the top burst. So when he's at his fastest, he's one of the fastest players in the KHL. I mean, so he's giant. He can skate. He throws. He was like 3rd in hitting on top of all the points he put up this year. This could be a fascinating player.
I don't doubt that. I just don't trust the KHL. The talent disparity between the two leagues is honestly a chasm. Like I would say AHL players are probably better than KHL players.
One more thing to add. I just wanted to add one more thing, Brandon, before we go into this. One more thing I got to say is 15 other or 16 other teams were after him. He was a big deal. All right, Brandon, go ahead.
Well, the problem is he's in his mid-20s, and he's coming to play in a whole different league at this point. Now, what was the mistake that Robin Salo did when he...
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy. All right, so it looks like...
Oh, no,
never mind.
You lagged out for a sec. All right. Yeah, I know, but he's not going to be in Bridgeport. Why are we talking about Bridgeport?
No, I mean, he could be.
I'm saying like adapting to North American play.
How do you assume there's zero chance?
No, I'm not.
I'll tell you why, but I want Brandon to finish his thought.
It's a one way. It's a one way deal apparently.
But I have more to that. But
the problem is when these players from whether it's Europe or Russia or whatever come to the league so late, it's really hard for them to adapt to North American style of hockey just like that. There's a very small fraction of players who can do it. And that's what the Islanders are trying to avoid by getting Odelius to come to Long Island as quick as possible. So he doesn't come to the league so late where it gets harder for him to adjust to a different style of play. My thing is with Saplakov, I know you. Yeah, again, we have expectations for him. Maybe he could be a Kuzmenko-like type of player, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be that simple. I don't, because
I do.
If he goes like in his early 20s, if he goes like 20 or 21, sure, the dude's going to be 26 years old in September. So I think from the Islanders'
standpoint, it makes too much sense. I don't think the Islanders have a first-line left wing. I don't think the Islanders have a second-line left wing. They said to this guy, you have these 15 other teams that are interested in you that might give you a shot. We see in the KHL, because I heard Lou and his camp have been talking to this guy for 3 or 4 months. They had that much interest that before it even got near the end of that season, they were in his pocket. They said, listen, we don't have guys right now. You are going to immediately, more than likely, get maybe not top 6, but top 9, a top 9 role. Guaranteed when you come into this team. We see that you throw your body around all the time. NHL made. That's how you win in this league. He can score goals. He has a wicked shot. He can skate. I mean, he's huge. He's made for the NHL. And that's why I think 14 or 15 teams were after him, because you're going to have a player on a cheap deal that could be a top 6 forward. Those come so rarely that the bidding wars are insane. We got so lucky that we were able to grab him. And he's not his stats are way better than any of the other Russians we've gotten. No one has come close.
I don't doubt any of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when he turns into a Dal Cole, then what?
Well, then we're screwed. But at least we tried.
But that's what I mean. I'm not believing any of this hype until he does it against actual NHLers. Right now, he's not.
I think you'll like him. From what I've seen, he looks NHL ready and NHL made. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that's why so many teams are interested in him. Like I said, I don't think otherwise, John, you wouldn't have half the league interested in him.
I don't doubt that, but the entire league is interested in a lot of players that just don't pan out, especially from these different leagues, because they're playing against people that are obviously not as good as them. The talent disparity is huge, and you can do things as a mid-level hockey player against people in those leagues that make you look like a world beater. And then when you go to the NHL, you don't have the same time and space, you don't have the same reaction times, and it doesn't work out.
I'm just saying that the odds, I think, are more in our favor than not, because the last player that this had this sort of hype before he came was Kuzmenko, and there were still mixed opinions on him as well. And when you look at it like this, there was so much reporting from the Leafs, from the Canadians about this guy, that he was going to come in and he was going to solve some problems for them and be a playoff-ready player. And the Islanders said, no, we're going to instantly give you this spot. So he said, I'm ready. I don't know. I'm just very, very optimistic about this kid because, well, he's not a kid, but he has all the right things. He can skate really well, big body, tons of checks, can shoot the puck. I mean, he fits the bill. That's what I'm saying. I'm not expecting a top line player, trust me. But I do think him with Nelson and Palmieri could probably end up being a great line if they go with it.
Well, I'm happy you're optimistic.
Okay, yeah. So enough ranting about him. We can move on.
I got you. All right. So we have to talk about the series that's going on right now, Oilers and Panthers. Who do you guys got and why?
Well, what are you wearing? What color is your underwear?
Trick question.
All right, Brandon, since you're the one without the jersey on, you can go first.
Brandon.
Oh, no. I picked the Panthers to win in 6 before the series began. Edmonton usually comes out flying in game 1 all the time. They did against Dallas as well. I think they did against Vancouver as well, if I'm not mistaken. But, Bobrovsky weathered the storm to an extent. Got a little bit boring for Edmonton in the third period by their standards. But this, in my opinion, is Barkov's time to shine. He's the second coming of Pavel Datsyuk. He's a phenomenal shutdown forward. Like look at what he's done to Zibanejad and Panarin. Look at what he's done to Pasternak. Look at what he's done with against Point and Kucherov this entire playoffs.
I think Barkov might be the most underrated forward in the NHL still.
He's a top 3. He's arguably a top 3 center all around in the league, behind McKinnon and McDavid. I don't think anybody is above. He's
definitely slept on 100%. I think now people are starting to wake up to how good he is. But I mean, to be fair, he's really evolved. I mean, it feels like he gets better every year somehow, which you don't think is possible. But I think one of the announcers mentioned that last series is that he has the same point total that he did last playoffs, but he's just better. He's just better this year.
I think he does, but I think we also just notice him more every year. I think he's always been fantastic, and we are just catching up to the things that he's able to do to control the game now.
Yeah.
I also trust Bobrovsky more than I trust Stuart Skinner or Jack Campbell.
I agree.
I also trust the experience of Paul Maurice as a coach.
I don't know if I agree with.
What, Paul Maurice? Paul Maurice has more NHL game experience. He's been to a cup final
before. Yeah, but he's also had more experience in losing in the playoffs.
Okay, but Chris hasn't had any experience in that regard, though. So
yeah,
maybe.
But would you rather a fresh face or someone that consistently loses?
He won an AHL Cup. Stop with your nonsense.
Stop it, Mike. Stop it. Stop
it. Watch, the Oilers are going to win the Cup.
I like Paul Maurice a lot, but he took probably the most talented Winnipeg Jets team that they've ever had and failed to win a single thing with them.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to win in Winnipeg, though.
And there's a whole
when you have Connor Hellebuck, Mark Scheifele, prime Kyle Connors, prime Patrick Laine, you should be able to get pretty close.
Laine's got fleas on
There's a whole list of
Laine was great at that point.
When they got Paul Maurice, they hated that move. They were like, "We're doomed. It's over," and it's ended up working out so well. It's
oh yeah, no. So far, it's worked out really well for them. I don't know if that's more the team than the coach.
I mean, you got Sam Bennett in the fold, Louis Dorainen for Hagee, former Islander legend. You also have Sam Reinhart, who allegedly doesn't work hard enough, bought his way into a cup final, taking a few picks here, by the way.
Doesn't he have like over 50 goals?
I'm taking a dig at this. I'm taking a dig.
Yeah,
Sam Bennett is wicked, by the way.
I think Mike knows. I think Mike knows what I was trying to do there.
For Hagee or
no, with Sam Reinhart. He paid his way into the cup finals. He didn't work very hard. Oh, you don't get it? Never mind. I'll tell you after the show.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about, but
there you go. You got it.
I won't talk about it here.
No, but like, I just like their defense better. Why Carolina waived Forsling is beyond me.
Agreed.
I don't know if he was that player when they waived him, but I mean,
okay.
No, but he was still solid.
And the Islanders thought that with Jared Spurgeon, and look how they turned out for Minnesota. You know, like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? They got him. They got a healthy Ekblad now. They got Montour in their lineup now. OEL is now relegated to their bottom pair, probably.
And he looks great.
Yeah, and the bottom pair
looks absolutely fantastic. Yep, and he's back to where he was before he got this super role on Vancouver, where he's relied upon for everything. Where he looked like
the Coyotes.
And the Coyotes, absolutely.
Yeah, they're the one who gave him that contract.
Yep.
Yeah, so I just think that team is stacked. The only guy who I think should be benched is Tarasenko, weirdly, because he just looks like a slug out there. He looks finished. Tarasenko looks finished at this point.
Future Islander.
Yeah.
No, stop it, Mike. I swear, if that actually happens this offseason, Mike.
Am I able? Let me just get in here real quick. So I'm going to
steal your arcade if that happens. I will do
that to me.
I will repo that. I don't care.
Oh no, John's this way. I'm going to get to John real quick, but I want to say two quick things. I think Ranger fans cry a lot, but I do think there is a serious officiating problem in this league. I don't have to go on some huge mega rant here on the podcast, but I do think in the playoffs, they just call things entirely differently, and they will.
You were complaining every game about how the Rangers were getting a good whistle.
100%, and they were. And they were even in the Panthers series, too. But at the same time...
So then what are you talking about?
It's inconsistent as hell.
Yeah, but you're talking about how you're trying to have sympathy for Ranger fans when you were on Twitter every night going, I can't watch this series. They literally are getting everything.
Yeah, it was, but to their point, there was games in the Panthers series, even though I thought they got away with a lot where the refs just didn't call stuff. I don't know why. And I think it's I'm not, but here's the thing. The Rangers did not play anybody except for the Washington Capitals. So I only hit the violin for so long. I'm like, all right, well, I understand penalties matter, but you got to outplay the other team. I mean, you can't rely on your power play for everything. You got to have some 5v5 presence, which I just didn't feel.
No, I agree.
I thought they were okay in the Carolina series, but I never thought they were the better team.
I felt the Rangers were okay in Game 2 against Florida, and that's it.
That's it. No, of course.
Yeah,
and I said the same thing. That's the only game.
Every Game 3, the Rangers had no business winning. And I'm not even saying this as a whole perspective. Like, they got dominated.
They did,
and at home twice.
I still think the officiating is a problem in this league, and I do hope they make some serious changes as time goes on, because I don't know. I do appreciate this Cup final, because that was my other point, is that I think this is the best Cup final we've had in forever. I mean, you literally have the most exciting offensive team versus the most exciting defensive team, in my opinion.
I kind of wanted it to be the Stars, but it's still a good matchup.
Well, the Stars, as a Ranger fans, we were the second best team. Yeah, okay. Ahead of the Stars? No, I don't think so.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the Stars were better than the Oilers. I think the Oilers won that series, but I think
the
if
Stars
you look at like the whole of both teams' seasons, I think the Stars were the more compelling team this year.
Well, that's because Edmonton's got like your 4 or 5 guys, and then it drops off like a meteor. But
agreed.
To be honest, though, when you get those 5 guys out there, there's no better hockey. I mean, there's nothing like watching Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, and you got Bouchard, who is so good with the puck. He's what I hope Dobson can elevate his game to. Watching Bouchard, I'm like, Dobson can be that. That can be Dobson.
Yes.
That can be Dobson. Let's see it. Let's see that swagger. He's got to have that swagger. Where Bouchard has a guy in him, he'll drag it around him. I'm like, that could be Noah Dobson. Just get to that point. So whatever. Just saying, though. But my 2 big points are, I do think there needs to be an overhaul of officiating. I've said it even outside of the Rangers series. There was a point in the Rangers-Panthers series where I think it was Ekman-Larsson got tripped by 2 guys going towards the net, and Oposo and Tkachuk got slashed on their hands. The refs chose not to call it, and then Kakko gets tripped down the other side of the ice, and they also let it go as well. And it's just like, I understand it's the third period of the playoffs, but you can't let obvious stuff go the entire game. I mean, you got to have some game control.
You're talking about Game 4, right? Where
it
Reinhart scored the power play goal to win the game in overtime.
Yes, it was Game 4.
Kakko was not tripped, man. He fell.
Okay, but everything before that, Brandon, the Panthers got effed. They should have had 3 or 4 power plays, and the refs were like, "We're just gonna let it play out." And I don't understand it.
And there were a couple cross checks on the Panthers that weren't called either. The thing is, when it comes to the playoffs, the refs don't want to be in the center of the spotlight, for better or worse. Unless
they make more calls in the playoffs. So why do these egregious things get let go? I have no idea.
Because they don't want to be the center of attention.
But they are anyway. They are anyway. So you might as well
they're
call
trying
it right.
not to be.
I think it's inevitable for the refs to be the center of attention in the playoffs, because these guys are playing more aggressive style of hockey than they did in the regular season. Sure. What I think is trying to happen, to Brandon's point, is I think they're trying to preserve the flow of the game by only calling things that are quote unquote egregious.
Which I don't think they're doing. But you know what? I think the overhaul needs to happen off the ice. I think the league needs to adapt to a new system where you have eyes that are a little bit higher up than what we have on the ice. And I could talk about that forever.
Oh, I don't think that's helpful.
I know real officiating will not probably agree with me, but they've tried it before in the past, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have at least one sort of official who at least can see the entire ice to call something egregious, be able to see a call correctly and make it. Because there are times where I'm watching on TV, I see something brutally egregious, and they let it go. And it's like, how? How do you miss that? Because they're on the ice. So I don't know. I hope one day that comes. And I don't listen. Hockey's always going to be a game about flow, and I understand that. But I think right now they're in a caveman system for how the game needs to be officiated. But John, how do you feel about the Stanley Cup final? I think it's the best one we've had since God knows when. Maybe a Pittsburgh one with Detroit. That's how
I think
long
it's a
ago
good cup final. I think from a narrative perspective, I think it's very interesting because you have the best player in the entire league
Yep.
trying to get over the hump and
the
be the
second
first
best player in the
person to
entire
win
league.
for Canada for about 30 years. So this
And the
is
second,
really
John,
what's up.
Draisaitl in the playoffs is unreal.
Draisaitl in the playoffs is incredible, but if you are going into this series telling me that the story is not Connor McDavid versus the world, you're crazy.
Sure.
That is the story. Connor McDavid, the golden boy, is going to bring a Stanley Cup back to Canada for the first time in about 30 years. That amount of pressure is an incredible narrative. I don't think he's going to win this series, even though, like, I have the Oilers jersey on now, more so because I think it would be fascinating if the Oilers won the series more than I think they can actually do it. But he, to me, represents Canada's best shot in the last 30 years. Easily. And
not gonna go
that's
that
fascinating. That and Barkov winning a cup, I think, would be tremendous for his Hall of Fame case for the most part.
I wouldn't say it's their best shot for Canada to win a cup in 30 years because I think you're really.
What about Vancouver?
Yeah, the 2011 Canucks, man. What are you
they were
talking about?
phenomenal, yeah. But
Yeah.
John, if you said the last 10 years, you'd be right.
Yeah, 10 years, sure. 30,
It's
Okay, outside of the 2011
decade.
Vancouver Canucks.
Just use decade. Decade is the
that's
correct word.
scary, man.
Outside of the 2011 Vancouver Canucks, when have you seen a more dominant Canadian team?
Yeah, it's hard to.
Calgary Flames?
No,
Wikipedia
I don't think so.
They were pretty damn good in 2004. That's Jerome McGinley, right? Prime McGinley.
Yep.
They were good, but I think coming from being as bad as Edmonton was pre-coaching change to now, the stretch that they're on, they were probably on a President's Trophy pace.
Yeah. Won't deny that.
Wait.
And has anyone really severely challenged them in the playoffs? I mean, the Stars were supposed to, and they didn't.
The Canucks.
Yeah.
Canucks. I didn't really think the Canucks posed that much of a threat, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the Canucks also didn't have Brock Besser due to blood clot issues.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
I mean,
but they never really felt like they were in control of that series.
No, they were. They had a few good games against Edmonton. Their penalty kill was the story of that series. Their penalty kill did a great job.
I have to throw this in here. I did the offensive defensive narrative. I didn't even mention this is kind of like best special teams versus one of the best, if not the best 5v5 teams, right? This kind of has that narrative as well. Even though the Oilers were the better 5v5 team the other night, without a doubt.
They literally pumped Bob. Like,
yes, in that first period too. That first period,
they were insane. they did to the Panthers what the Panthers did to the Rangers.
Yeah. No, 100%. But I still think those narratives make this even more interesting than just Golden Boy versus America. I think
I agree.
There's so much on the line here, and like I said, I can't think of a better Cup final that I can remember well. It's got to be Pittsburgh-Detroit, like I said, where you had all those stars back and forth, because that's what it feels like now. Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, Barkov, McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard. I mean, it's an exciting final. I would have loved the Stars to make it, don't get me wrong, but I think this is so much more interesting. Special teams, 5v5. Connor McDavid, Alexander Barkov. I mean, come on.
See,
you can't get
the thing I would have liked about Stars Panthers is I feel like that would have been the first time in I can't remember how long where the two deepest teams in the entire league played each other.
Yep, I agree there that you would have had that narrative instead. So
yeah.
Or you could have had the Edmonton Rangers, and it would have been the battle of the
battle of the stars. Yeah,
battle of the special teams. At 5v5, nobody scores. They just go 0-0 in that series.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you're right. Give up a goal. Give up a power play. Give up a goal. Jeez.
It would have been about 60 power play goals in that series. Or the PKs on both teams, which were kind of actually pretty damn good, especially in Edmonton, would have been the story. It would have been just
Which
been
is really surprising, to be completely
might have been a
honest.
low-scoring Stanley Cup final. I mean, but we'll see what this one is. This one could be as well, because Bob's been insane and the Oilers have been great on special teams. So we'll see. All right, so we want to wrap this up, or John? Yeah, you gave your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I pretty much gave my thoughts there. We can wrap this up. Brandon.
Trivia!
Yeah, Brandon, do you have a trivia question? I sure as hell do not. I did not have time to prepare for this.
I already answered the question Mike had. Like what kind of underwear is John wearing? I said, Commando.
Woo!
Oh yeah, no, you're exactly right.
John's wearing nothing below that camera. It's just the Oilers jersey.
It's true. All right, Mike, did you have a question?
I did. I prepared it. But no, Brandon. Here's the problem. You cannot answer first because I think you're going to get it. So we got to give John a chance here.
Oh boy! All right,
because it's a fun one. In 2000, I might have done this one before, but I want to do it again. So Islanders related. In 2008 to 2009, John, who led the Islanders in goal scoring?
2008 to 2009.
They were very injured that year, by the way.
Oh boy,
ridiculously injured that year.
Let's see.
I think.
Are you talking the 2008-2009 season?
Yes.
Who had the most goals or points?
Goals.
Oh.
The points question I've asked before on here, I'm pretty sure. But not
points
goals.
The points one I already know.
Of course you do. See, you're too smart. That's a problem with this.
Not the goals. I don't know the goals.
Matt
Brandon
Molson?
has... No. Okay, Brandon, you're up. The Wikipedia is letting him down right now. They changed the wording.
Give me a second.
He went to the page in his brain and they changed the information.
Yeah, he's scrolling through.
All right. Has the player ever been traded or no?
Oh, come on. I'm not going to give you a hint until you give me one guess.
You're right.
I should give him a hint because you went first, but
no.
No hint, because then you'll get it. Oh, he's doing it blindfolded too. This is really special.
Richard Park?
No.
Okay.
Let me see how many goals. Wait, I'm going to tell you guys how many goals. So I don't think Matt Molson was on this team, John. I'm going to be real with you.
Really?
I don't see his name. But Richard Park did have 14 goals. I think this was the year before.
Because I know there wasn't a single forward who hit 40 points that year.
Well, I'm curious why Matt Molson isn't here. That's kind of funny. I guess he can't.
Do
you know about that, Brandon? Was Matt Molson the year after?
Year after.
Let's say because that's when Tavares was too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say Tavares got taken in that draft, so it's not him.
I'll throw a hint for you, John.
Okay.
With that, I gotta give a little hint.
Yeah.
He played with the Islanders for quite a long time.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm not talking 10 years, but I'm also not talking 2 or 3 years.
Oh, geez, I think I might know this.
It's okay, John.
Mark Parrish?
Ooh, I don't think he was on the team at that point either.
No, he wasn't.
Parrish was probably gone in 2006 or 7, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're up. Oh my God, Brandon, do it blindfolded again.
Wait, oh no, I forgot. Franz Nielsen.
No. All right, hold on. Let's see where Franzi had 9 goals in 59 games this year. The Pajot special. All right, let's see.
Jesus.
All right, so next hint for John. Next hint.
Jesus. Shows you how much I want to forget this.
I am pretty sure that he got time with Tavares. Now, that doesn't isolate it down too much because John Tavares played with 10 players or 12 maybe consistently.
All right. Let's see. Got time with John Tavares.
And everybody did.
Yeah. I know. This is a good hint. He didn't play with everyone, Brandon. Just about almost everyone, though. But so did Barzell at one point. I mean, geez. He still is. He's played with Zizekas. 50-year-old Zizekas in the playoffs. You're gonna hate it, John. You're gonna hate it when you find out who it is.
Kyle Oposo?
Ah, he got it.
Oh wow!
Yeah!
Oh, I actually wasn't gonna. I wanted to say Oposo. I was like, really? But
Okay.
Well, can you tell why I made that trivia question?
That's crazy. Yeah, that's relevant.
He's in the Cup final right now, and he's playing.
He can get his cup, yeah.
That would be the crowning achievement on this year for me. I would forget all those Rangers woes if Kyle Oposo
how many goals
raising a Stanley Cup. 18.
Wow.
18. Yeah, that Islanders team sucked. 18 goals for the team. Man. And I'm complaining about Brock with his 30-something every year.
Thank goodness.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you guys are like, oh, he has no offense. Meanwhile, he puts up 30 goals a year.
I think it was the end of the year effort that was concerning because he didn't look right. And he didn't say anything about an injury, which concerns me more. And remember, Trouba was like, I actually wasn't hurt. And people were like, why'd you say that? Why'd you tell us that? Why not just say you were hurt or just you were dealing with something?
Don't make people make excuses for you, man.
Well, you guys saw his tweet, and I was just like, that has no correlation. I don't know what he was doing there, but I'm not saying the guy was right to bring up his wife, but the tweet was like Jacob.
No, I understand why he would make that. I disagree. I understand why he would make that tweet.
I don't think he has to acknowledge that. I think he could have just put out,
No, I think what he's saying is it's hard to be a hockey player, especially when people rag on you like this. This is something that happens a lot to those guys, and we should think about that before we just spout off and say dumb shit.
After he posted that tweet, the Rangers fan I follow replied to it and said, "Wave to Utah." I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think they're wrong.
That's their own fan base, though. It's like, God, don't you have
because they hate Trouba.
Trouba
is terrible.
Yeah, but if Josh Bailey put out that tweet, I wouldn't be like, get off the team. That's terrible.
No, but I mean, we were taking snippets of him being overly emotional after a game and then using that as like, he's not trying. He doesn't care.
Well, I never said he doesn't care. I think there's a...
He basically did. You said he wasn't trying.
But I don't think that means he doesn't care. I think that means his
How
effort
does that not mean he doesn't care?
Wait, no.
How are we doing this again?
Yeah, why'd you bring this up? We don't need to talk about him. He's in his happy place, wherever the hell that is. Probably in the management position somewhere.
We're gonna be like 80 years old one day, and this stupid fan base is still gonna be talking about Josh Bailey somehow.
John, if he made an inspirational tweet like that, I would never respond to it like, "Haha, you suck." Like that just wouldn't happen. That Rangers fan base is cutthroat. They are cutthroat.
I think fans of every team can be cutthroat. It really just depends on like.
If an Islanders fan did that, I'd be very mad at them. I would say something because
they would. I guarantee you they would.
Well, I would have a problem with it because that's not.
Fair.
I mean, I thought it was funny that the Rangers fan made that comment, but like I
have a problem with it right now, but I think there are people in every fan base that are shitty, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, like Brandon.
Toxic Brandon. All right.
I embrace it. I embrace it at this point.
Brandon,
I guess we can call it here. Any final thoughts, guys? Anything?
Yeah, Brandon didn't want to give us a 30-minute trivia question. He saved us.
I appreciate that.
Save it for next time, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll save it for next time.
Go Cats! Cats in 7. I want it to go 7 games.
Yeah, I that would be a great series. I could see that too. Cats or Oilers in 7. Either one, I'd be happy with.
That's how I felt before coming here. Yep.
Yep.
All right.
It's the year of the rat.
There we go. Year of the rat. All right. Have a nice night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Take care.